Hello, everyone. Go back to my screen here. All right. Whoops. That's not what I wanted in there. It is a resource.
It looks good.
I forget that those come through. Like it's images now in chat, or yeah, in the chat area. All right. Do we have the recording on, or are we ready?
You do. Yep, we're ready
Okay.
to go.
Sorry about that. All right. Well, welcome everyone to today's session of our MiSchoolData Technical Administrator updates. Hard to believe it's March, and also hard to believe that this is the fifth of our six webinar series that we've offered this year. Thank you all for attending today. This meeting will be recorded, and it's a quick 30 minutes. So hopefully we can get through all of this and entertain any questions that you may have at the end. So with that, I'm going to introduce our statewide leadership team that works with the professional learning side of our operation, and that is myself, Rhonda Provost. I'm also attended today with Christy Martin from Macomb ISD, Cheryl Twitchell from SEPI, and Kathy Miller also serves on our professional learning team as a driving force behind our professional learning resources as we collectively work together. And she's from Shiawassee RESA. So that's just a little bit of background behind our group here today. We've also added a new slide. It's not really new content. We have been putting this in the footer of all of our initial slides, and we felt that it needed some elevated reference as we've been working on updating our resources and such. And so this is just giving recognition, if you're using any of our resources, that we do have the Creative Commons license as our official MiSchoolData logo for the Professional Learning Network and all of our materials and resources that we prepare and share out to the field. So if at any time you are using those, we would appreciate the reference for the publications, materials, and resources that are on our site and used. And these permissions are also beyond the scope of this license, can be available at the link there with SEPI. So we've just taken that little footer that we had on slide one and we've put it into its own space. So for recognition purposes. All right. For today's session, all of our content, these are quick links that will advance you to that area of the presentation. And you can see that we have a number of items that we'll be covering, and this has been a standard practice with our webinar series this year. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And then of course, at the end, we'll have a feedback for you to provide so that it helps inform future sessions that we offer around the MiSchoolData portal. In the chat, if you're just coming in, I'm going to put that back in there. There's the slide deck as well as the attendance link. This is also linked in the slide. So please record your attendance for today. So today it's going to be routine. Our release reports, Cheryl's going to talk about that with coming soon and any new developments that are on the horizon. Also, the My Login for Business, that has been at the forefront all year. We've also examined that in some of our survey data that we had from last year, hoping to improve that process. And then, of course, introducing any of the professional learning resources that are available. And then, of course, at the end, we're hoping you're able to take this information back and transfer it into actionable account administration as your ISD representative. With that, this is our statewide leadership team. There's a link there that'll give you a little bit of background of the 10 regions in MESA and those ISD representatives that are in the designated regions 1 through 10. So if you ever need any further information, feel free to reach out to a statewide leadership team member. Again, this is our agenda, very similar to our learning objectives. And of course, at each transition, we do have an opportunity to pause if you have any questions specific to that content. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl, and she's going to provide recently released reports with some examples and any upcoming projects on behalf of CEPI. Cheryl?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I think we'll just skip right ahead to what's been recently released. So next slide, please. Let's see. Uh, uh, yeah, tongue-tied here. Can't even speak at the moment. Don't know why. We've got some EEM data. There's quick facts, district school counts. There's statewide openings and closings. Recently, recently the student enrollment counts data retained in grade, and we did have the school services and offerings data for fall, and this is all 25-26 data. And then the next slide for 24-25 data would be early middle college locations, the graduation dropout data, and parent dashboard metrics related to the graduation data, as well as the school level expenditure report and the third grade outcome assessment outcomes for the early childhood participants, which is a secure only report, meaning you have to be logged in to be able to view it, and you do have to have a specific permission when logged in to view it. Coming soon that we are working on the financial transparency dashboard. We've got the special education data portraits data, staffing count, and a couple of metrics on the parent dashboard related to the staffing count for the ratio of students to instructional and support staff. And as well, the whole suite of post-secondary data. We're just now starting to get those data extracts to us and beginning to load those. So those should be coming in the next few weeks. And then again, with that post-secondary data, that includes metrics on the parent dashboard. Did want to finally, we've been talking about updates to the compare tool, report builder, and education entity profiles for the longest time. Happy to announce that the compare tool updates are finally live and on MiSchoolData as of last week. So when you go there and you click on the link, the default is compare by location. It looks and works exactly the same. You can compare up to 20 locations by the report category and the metric. As we've been saying all along, we've been trying to align the metrics that are on the compare tool and report builder. So what you're going to see now, the metrics that were missing in the compare tool are now there and available. So things like 8th grade science, where it just wasn't even something where you could view in the graph form, is now there for you to actually select, and you can see it in snapshot and trend view. And then you've got the data table below. So we're happy, that now we've got both of those reports or tools aligning with each other. And then screenshots here. This is the same compare by location, but we added 2 additional tabs, compare by demographic and compare by metric. And we've been talking about these over the last couple of go-arounds with these meetings. So now I'm going to just let you guys get out there and explore and play around with it. But the demographics let you compare by the student demographics. So whether it's by race, ethnicity, or gender, or whatever. And then the last one, the compare by metrics, allows you to compare the various metrics like enrollment to graduation, or assessment to attendance, or graduation, or whatever it might be. But you've got different ways to then compare all of these different metrics instead of just the one by location. So happy about that. Next is the report builder. And again, these updates are live as well. And these are a little less conspicuous. So Ron, if you go to the next screen, The updates to this were those pre-made explorations in the bottom half of the screen. So we've got circled in yellow that you'll see that we've added one for the early childhood, the service comparisons by ISD. And then the next screen will show for K-12. There was two. There's parent dashboard metrics and one for college enrollment and success by high school. And then on the post-secondary realm, we added another one for college degrees and certificates awarded. Those are all out and live and available for everybody. And then last but not least is the education entity profiles. Again, we've been talking about this for a while. You're not going to see a lot of difference once you get past the landing page. But that landing page gives you access to more data. We've added a post-secondary entity page if you're interested in looking at college or university data. All of the pages now have the capability to download what you're looking at in a PDF format. And we kind of, like it says, repackage that education map into a single tool where you can do all your searching and everything and click on everything on one page. You can do it by map or by a search bar, and then you're automatically taken to the ISD district, school, or now post-secondary page. And we've added lots of different options to view peer data by distance and characteristic and all that. And I say available by mid-March. It'll be next week sometime that will be available. So excited to announce that. And our friendly reminder about the report catalog. You guys are old hands to this meeting, so I'm not going to go into detail. I think you guys know about that, but just want to keep that on everybody's in the forefront because it really is a good, powerful tool, and we just want to remind people that it's there. And I think last but not least is just the dates for the deadlines to update the EEM for anything for updates that you want to see in the school services and offerings. So if you have changes to your points of pride information or contact information, then go ahead and make sure you get your updates into the EEM Points of Pride collection no later than the end of the day on April 13th. And then we will use that data to upload and make updates in the school services and offerings within the parent dashboard. To give you, we did want to kind of point out that that date is based on when a snapshot is going to be taken. And even though that snapshot is taken actually the following day, like the next day, like at midnight, at like 12:01 a.m., that data takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to do all of the internal work that we have to do to make it ready to be then loaded into MiSchoolData for us to validate. So even though you may make these changes on April 13th, give us about 6 weeks to get everything finalized, and then you'll see those updates live and in person on MiSchoolData. And with that, I'll ask if you guys have any questions.
I would just like to add, if there aren't any questions, with your representative on the statewide leadership team, the feedback that you're providing to those folks through the various venues that you may utilize, whether it be a training, whether it be reaching out by email, etc., that is all influential in these changes that Cheryl is talking about. Literally, these are feedback loops that we acknowledge, whether it be through our annual survey process or if it's through your ISD representative that serves on the statewide leadership team. And that influences us when we're together. We're together in person 4 times a year. We are together every month virtually. So we are on a 12-month cycle. But knowing that you are a voice in the room, we are listening and collaboratively working with SEPI to influence these changes to make the system much more streamlined for your use when you're training or using it with your district. So I just wanted to add that because Cheryl had like 3 highlights that are really celebrations and accomplishments, but to know that it's coming back from feedback loops that you serve on. And we really appreciate that, as well as your attendance at these meetings that we host every 60 days. So anyway, thank you.
All right. And I think now we'll turn it over probably to Christy,
Okay,
I think. Yes.
great. So I did put in the chat, as far as celebration, that the certified school counts, and I say certified because it's the data that we all submit, but it's certified, it's clean, it's gone through data quality checks, et cetera. So that information was able to be posted 30 days, more than 30 days ahead of time from last year, again, based on feedback that we received from our survey as well as this group, saying, hey, this is how we would use that data. So just just a brief one there. So the education entity master, many of you know that this is being rewritten, but right now and for the foreseeable future, we'll be working in the EEM, and this is where the points of pride are located, and they are called the school services and offerings in the parent dashboard. So that's the connection between the two. You would need to have edit rights and update rights for your education entity master. Usually I just put in a Google search and say EEM Michigan, and it always comes up for what I need. So the link is there. Um, when I when I log in, I see that the EEM is one of the items that I have access to in the My Login State Single Sign-On system. So this is what the main screen looks like. We'll move forward there after I log in. Um, and there is the points of pride are listed. If I'm just looking at it in my list of entities, I don't have edit yet. So here's where I would look to see if something had been updated. And then if I would like to edit those points of pride, we would choose edit the entity. And that's the second box over. So can move to the next. So once I'm in the editing an entity and I choose that points of pride, these are the different areas, and I thought it was helpful to see the whole list. So if you need help from your districts, from your schools to fill this out, here it is. Do you have music classes, art classes, etc.? And it's a way to tell your community what your school offers. And this is really important. A lot of the calls and things that we get even from realtors are asking, well, if we're comparing schools, I want to make sure that there's art classes or there's AP classes, etc. So they do use this, and so it's to everyone's benefit to fill it out. The public access to the school's services and offerings. Now I'm in the MiSchoolData portal, so I've done my work on the EEM. I've added my points of pride, and then on the MiSchoolData portal, under the public access to school services and offerings in the parent dashboard, this is where it shows up in lights. Any questions about this piece for the EEM update? Great. Thank you. The next piece I'm going to talk about is the MiSchoolData permissions and roles. I have provided a basic example where I've shown the user administration permissions and using the ISD user, district user, or school user. Would this be helpful to see for various major roles at a district? What I did is I just showed what the permissions are and what I would normally choose for this group, knowing that they still have to fill out their request form and have that authorized. But the basic example shows, what they would be able to get to as far as when there's the preview for data, How do I look at the school performance information as well as the accountability? Any of the MDE reports, these are the permissions that they would need to have. Would it be helpful to see other roles like a superintendent or your counselor or different folks, just as kind of a guide to look at it and go, okay, this is what they need. Okay. I've also been asked to do a really short like checklist of here are the steps without screen captures. So we're kind of going backwards because that's what we had originally with our user administration guide. And then folks said, no, no, we need to see the screen. So we changed it. So I'm going to have two different versions so that'll help to have the folks that want the cheat sheet. I did this, I did this, I did this to check it off, or the ones that want to see the screen and say, yes, I'm where I should be. And when is the next step? So we could move forward. The request form has not changed. The biggest part that people will forget to fill out is the my login name. And sometimes they just flat out make it up. So, you can kind of tell when you see it that it's been made up, but it's kind of funny when I get them, I kind of laugh. I go, okay, well, this one needs a Zoom. And I'll offer to Zoom with them as they go through and figure out with me how to make the request for MiSchoolData. So that's how I've been handling it. But you can see it pretty straightforward right on this form. The account request process for new users, and I know this is still causing some heartburn. The folks have to make that request to discover resources within my login, and that way they can choose that to request access to the MiSchoolData application, the portal. And then they have to go back in to my login and that kind of, or answer the email, just opening it up. And that will allow us to see them on the MiSchoolData side. Otherwise, the record just flat out doesn't exist for us in MiSchoolData. It's so hard to explain to people that handshake doesn't happen because as normal people, all of us on the call, except Cheryl, we can't see into the state system. So we have only our side of the wall. So this next piece, I'm open for any suggestions you have as you think about your processes when you're helping users. If you would send me something direct, that'd be awesome. Because it's really hanging some people up. We are doing the Zoom meetings and that has helped. But I'm sure you are too, getting the calls from the same people going, okay, well, I did everything, but I still can't log in. So we're trying to figure out, maybe short videos would be helpful for them, but that still means that they have to watch them. So I'm feeling the same pain that you have. But if there's any way that I can assist and help with those Zooms and such, I am more than happy to do so. There is a My Login user guide, which is very, very well done. Seppi created this and goes through each of the steps for My Login and has been updated. So this is available from the MiSchoolData portal as well as when you log in and see the user administration documentation in your secure when you're in there securely. So we've worked on an onboarding process to help with new technical contacts that come in. We do have plenty of resources to provide input, but also an ability then to meet one-on-one in a Zoom. And those processes have helped. We've had quite a bit of turnover in the roles across the state. And so if you hear of anybody that is having any special issues, again, we would be happy to reach out to them with you or separately and make sure that they can have the access that they need. And the onboarding session is listed there with the slide deck and it's linkable. Any questions on this piece or comments?
I was
Great.
just thinking, going back to the difficulty when
Mhm.
someone's trying to get an account. And I have found it's that step of requesting the app. And
Mhm.
I think it was one of you gave me the analogy that it's sort of like when you're downloading an app to your phone, that you have to go to the app store and actually download and
Mhm.
request that and then make your account. And so I've given that analogy when I've had folks that have difficulty, and that helped. But I think it is the name, because it's so long that it's, the Center for da 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 da, and then slash my school data. They never get to the slash because people don't read.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of the difficulty, and
Mhm.
having a screenshot of that particular step, I think is key.
Okay, thank
So
you very much. I
yeah,
like the app idea as well. We'll incorporate
yeah.
that. Thank you.
One
We
more
do have
area, Christy.
okay. Do you want to take this one? Or you want me to have it?
You can go.
All right. We have our 2026 secure account user survey. So we do want your feedback. It's live right now. We sent out over 3,000 invitations to with their links to take the survey. Um, and a reminder will go out next week. And then on the 31st, we'll be closing that window. And that way it'll give us some time to go through and evaluate. You will hear, like you did last year, what the results were of the survey. And we'll be using a technical update session to do that. So there's a link to the survey if you want to send that out to your constituents. The QR code, if they want to do that instead, we will be at McCall and with a big sign with a QR code on it so that folks that are coming through there with a secure login can access. And sometimes it helps me gather more people for secure logins. So I will usually have those user request forms as well. Any survey follow-up questions? Kathy Berry is our lead from our statewide leadership team. She's from Monroe ISD. And I mention that because it really is a group of all of us across the state. It isn't just one ISD. We're all in this together. And Kathy Berry is the lead for that, for the survey. And then Kathy Miller, you'll see her name too from Shiawassee, that is part of the analysis and looking at the slicing and dicing the responses that we receive. Dr. Megan Thrum from Oakland Schools, as well as Nick Armit from SEPI. And we're usually involved with that last bit for now. What do we do now that we have the survey data? What does it tell us? And Rhonda.
All right, I'll wrap up with our professional learning resources, outreach, and communication. Just a reminder, our site has been reorganized. If you go to the help and support, you'll see the link there for MiSchoolData resources. And we have 4 different tabs: the welcome, presentations, and targeted resources, our user contacts, as well as about us. And this is the group that helped with that total reorganization. And again, going back to feedback, it was based on what we heard from the field in terms of utilization. So, all right, our presentations by topic, those continue to grow. Currently, we have about 13 that have been revised and are you can utilize them by downloading. They are freely accessible to you, and you can use the resources, customize them to your use slides, whatever, customize them to your different stakeholder groups. And you can find those in the presentations and targeted resources area. Our talking points are here for the month of March, highlighting, of course, our survey that Christy just talked about, and looking forward to new developments that have happened over the past year and getting your feedback on that as well. Our quick start guide collection, those have been under review with our statewide leadership team. That was a process that they have been working on, and just to let you know that those are kept up to date based on the content area that we have. However, if you feel there is a need for any additional quick start guides, please provide us with feedback on that, and we will gladly get a team together to bring that to them for our work group process. EduPass courses, these are still popular courses that are available for the FERPA compliance, the navigation of MiSchoolData, and then the professional learning resources and user support. And that's a self-paced where all of these participants can earn sketchies. Our outreach event schedule is here. Again, that course, if anyone is interested or if you have any newbies, the onboarding session has been a spinoff from those fall sessions that we did regarding the MiSchoolData overview and any new users. But this is a quick slide deck, and as Christy mentioned, where people get hung up is usually in the user administration area, and she gladly hosts Zoom meetings to get them on board and get your users in a satisfactory status so they can preview data and their secure account is working miraculously. Our technical updates, we will be working with Cheryl again after this date to host our final one in May, and the registration link and the talking points link is there as well. So where will we be? Well, Christy talked about McCall. That's probably one of the largest conferences in the state, and she will be there next week. I believe it's Leanne from SEPI will be at the Michigan Association for College Admission Counseling. She will also be there. And then, of course, Kathy represents us at GELN and our session for today. So, and then looking forward to April, you can see where we will be at the final one is the Michigan School Business Officials. And that's all of our operational folks for the most part. And that is a very busy conference as well. So look forward to seeing you if you attend any of those sessions. What questions might you have? All right, with that, if you would please make sure your attendance is recorded. Our next session is, like I said, May 20th. Registration link is there. And if you need any additional information, we always provide this slide as a template for you to follow up. And then, of course, our feedback survey from attending today's session. So we've added QR codes to those. They're just sometimes easier if you're going from one meeting to the next. And so we appreciate your attendance today and look forward to serving you in any additional capacity with the MiSchoolData portal. So thank you for attending.
I put a link, a picture of the new promotional item that we have. So that will be at McCall. They just showed up at my offices. So I will bring that to McCall if you're going to be there.
Awesome.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll hang out as normal if you have individual questions. Thank you.